Marisha here, and today I'm going to tell you about a free Easter themed thing you can do in London right now, and that is the Big Egg Hunt. Now, this is a sculpture trail, and it's similar to ones that I've talked about in the past where you have the same sculpture, but it's painted or decorated by various artists, so you walk along the trail to get the various iterations. And this, of course, is done with Easter eggs. But the difference is it is a much larger trail than any of the other ones that I've talked about. The other ones are ones that you can do in a day, or really honestly, like half a day or a couple of hours. This you could not do in a day. It's 120 eggs, and they are spread out as far as Canary Wharf in the east and Battersea Power Station in the west, and all sorts of places in between. So you really have to kind of like break it into chunks if your goal is to collect all 120 eggs. Now, you don't have to. Obviously, you can just pick an area of London that you think you would like to go to anyway for some other reason and just walk around and find the eggs there, or just hope that you stumbled upon some on your everyday business, getting groceries or whatever. But I think there's a really good incentive for trying to collect all of the eggs, besides the sort of inherent inner child part of you that's like, I want to collect them all. There is an app that you download, and with that app, you can collect all of the eggs. Now, I should say that this hunt is put on by the charity Elephant Family, and it's to raise money for the conservation work that they do for protecting wildlife in South Asia, um, namely elephants, but I don't think it's just limited to elephants. And the way that they raise money is that the eggs will be auctioned off at the end of all of this. But in the meantime, right, they're sponsored by different businesses. And as a participant who's downloading the app and collecting these eggs, it's entirely free for you, unless you decide you want to bid on one of these eggs at the end. But you download the app, you can collect all of these eggs, and as you're collecting them, you get rewards. So, not for every egg, but for various eggs throughout, they have an award attached to them. And it can range from being put into a drawing for a prize to a lot of them tend to be tied to restaurants. And so it might be, oh, take this in to show and you'll get 10% off your bill, or you'll get a free appetizer if buy a main. But one of the rewards that I got just yesterday when I was out and about was some like fancy chocolates. I got to pick. You just get like two free fancy chocolates, my choice of a variety of different like truffles and things that they had. Those are just like really fun kind of rewards to have. But even if you thought, I don't really care about those, like, okay, two pieces of chocolate, or okay, a discount at a restaurant, I don't really want to have to go to a restaurant anyway. There's still another incentive for doing it, I think, and that is it's a really good excuse to go out and get some fresh air and some exercise because you're going to get in a lot of steps no matter what area you pick, right? If you go to Canary Wharf, you go to Battersea Power Station, you go to Covent Garden, you go to Soho, you go to St. James Park. If you want to collect all of the eggs in that area, you're going to have to walk around a bit. So it's a good way to get some exercise. It's another incentive. And then on top of that, it's a really good way to see some parts of London that you otherwise wouldn't. Yeah, Battersea Power Station. Okay, I've seen that mall, right? Whatever. But even places like Marylebone, which is my neck of the woods, it is right there. Like I can walk there easily. And my friend who has lived here for decades lives there as well. But we went and we collected the eggs in Marylebone, and I ended up walking down a couple of streets that I had never walked down before. And they were really cute with some nice little pubs and other businesses on them. And she was familiar with those streets, but we still stumbled upon some individual businesses that she was not familiar with, including a cute little shop that sells like notions for if you wanted to make your own fascinator. They also had fascinators. I don't know if I would call it a haberdashery because they didn't have men's hats, and I don't know if haberdashery applies to a place that's doing fascinators. But they sold fascinators, but beyond that, it seemed like more of what they were selling were the materials. So there were rows and rows of ribbon, right? Where you just buy a specific type of ribbon that you wanted. They also had like feathers, all sorts of things that, yeah, if you wanted to make your own fascinator, you could. And those kinds of little niche specialty stores, you don't see those a lot anymore. And to be able to stumble upon those and know that those still exist in London is actually really fun and kind of encouraging in a way. Another thing that we noticed is that some of the places that are sponsoring these eggs are hotels. And so you have to go into a hotel lobby to find the egg. Now, as Londoners, we would have no business going into a hotel here because we live here. We don't need your hotel. But these are some really cool hotel lobbies. We went into one that was music themed, and they had the car from the Back to the Future musical in their lobby, along with some really interesting artistic displays of different musical instruments. Um, Other hotels, they're just like really posh, and so the lobby is really beautiful with like maybe chandeliers or different pieces of artwork that they have up just normally in their hotel. Yesterday, I was collecting some on my own, and I went into a hotel where the egg wasn't in the lobby, it was in their courtyard. So you had to go through the lobby out into their courtyard. And their courtyard had this fountain and it was all decorated for Easter. So they had some trees that they had made into like Easter trees with different like ornaments and like butterflies, and it was just beautiful. And there was no way that I ever would have seen that if it weren't for this hunt. Because why on earth would I walk into the Taj Hotel and walk through their lobby and go into their courtyard? I'd have no business to do that otherwise. So it is a great opportunity to see just some like interesting parts of London, businesses that you wouldn't otherwise experience. Yeah, as well as getting some exercise, get some fresh air, and if you want, pull in some of those rewards. It was just really, really fun. I'm at about 50 of the 120. I'm hoping tomorrow to get a friend to go to Canary Wharf and like collect some more. And it is sort of interesting if you have this type of mindset. It is also fun to pull up the map on the app and like strategize where you're going to go and like, okay, there's some clumped here, but what's the best like walking route to not have to backtrack too much. And so in that way can also be kind of an interesting brain exercise. So if you are in London for the next, I think it's goes to the end of next week, so the next 2 weeks, it's been going on for, it'll be about a month total. Download the app, or just, wander around to some of the more famous places. There's a bunch in Covent Garden, there's a bunch along Regent Street, and just check out some of these eggs. Some of them are actually really the eggs themselves really interesting, really beautiful. There's one in Battersea Power Station that's of a pangolin kind of curled up into a ball. It's like really intricate and really well done. That one's sculpted more than it is painted. And so just the eggs themselves are also really fascinating and interesting to look at. So I'll be back, I think, with another Easter event if all goes well and talk about that in the next episode. In the meantime, like, subscribe, tell your friends how gnarly this channel is, and I'll see you next time.